another edition of the Webex Partner Podcast. This new series is going to focus on educating our listeners and get to know our partners and our guests. So stay tuned for upcoming episodes and make sure to join us and listen in. On today's second edition, very excited to introduce our special guests. Joining us in our program, or my co-host, is Joel Deppersmith, Business Development Manager for Webex Partner Ecosystem. A short introduction, Joel has led various roles within the technology space, leading the business development and partnerships team. Joel, great to have you in our program.
Thanks, Tara, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Very excited to introduce our special guest. Joining us today in the program is Rob Kutner, Vice President of Sales at AVA Robotics. Rob has currently led the global sales, marketing, and strategic partnerships at AVA. Welcome, Rob. It's a pleasure to have you in our program.
Thanks so much for having me. Always happy to speak with my friends at Cisco and with you specifically, Joel. So appreciate the time today.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. So we know for the past 8+ years, AVA has delivered the best automated mobile enterprise-grade telepresence solutions for our video meetings. Can you talk about how AVA was designed using some of the most advanced technologies in robotics to safely deliver Webex meetings in the workplace? And then also how that design makes AVA differentiated and unique, and maybe how AVA works, a little bit about how it works and how it integrates with Cisco and with Webex.
Yeah, sure. So it's a great question. Good place to start. It's kind of one of those, you don't know where you're going until you know where you've been, right? And so I love giving a brief history that most people don't know, but we're actually we're a commercially focused robotics company, but we're originally spun out of iRobot. So we got our start as a division of iRobot focused on robots in the workplace, and we continue that vision that we believe that robots will be in the workplace doing various tasks for and alongside humans now and growing into the future. And so a little over 4.5 years ago, iRobot decided to focus 100% on consumer-facing robotic applications. Obviously, most people familiar with the Roomba and the success that they've had there, and they're growing off of that. And so we got a very unique opportunity to spin out as an independent company. And I do like to highlight that because for all intents and purposes, we're a startup company, but we got this really incredible heritage and significant investment in the platform and the technology. We hold a number of patents, and we still do have a very close partnership with iRobot to this day. And so everything we do is built on a fully autonomous smart robot by every definition of the word. So a robot that can be placed into any environment. For us, it's the workplace, whether that's an enterprise work environment, healthcare, retail, you name it, a very broad approach. And that robot's going to learn that space in 2 and 3 dimensions and be able to navigate safely, avoiding people and things, and really fit comfortably and safely into any environment. And that's what all of our products and robotic applications are built on. The Telepresence Robot was very purposefully robot number 1, because we think it's a great way to get people comfortable with this type of technology in these environments, because telepresence is built on my proxy in the space. And so it's me, it's non-threatening, I hope, or it's you, or it's anybody else that wants to be in that space that can't physically be there, and be able to do it with really true independence and empowerment as a remote or virtual person. And so obviously when that was the direction, Cisco was the obvious choice from a partnership standpoint on that video and telepresence side, an industry leader in video and in devices and endpoints. And so we drive video through a Cisco codec and as part of a partnership there, and then have a full integration with Webex. And so when I think about what makes Ava on the telepresence side, it's this really unique heritage on the robotics end and then partnered with the best of the best on the video side. And so those two pieces kind of make us the leader today.
And Ava's fully autonomous. And I know, years ago, I had the pleasure of being involved in an Ava sale to a large telecom company, and they evaluated everything on the market. And Ava was one of the ones they were evaluating, and I was part of the representation there. And the one thing that made Ava unique is just this idea of autonomous navigation in an environment. This company needed Ava to greet people from the elevator, to escort them to a meeting room, maybe even take them to another room, all the while, executives who couldn't be there for every meeting, were able to participate. But how did, I witnessed this, and it's amazing to me. How does Ava navigate without hitting people and boxes, and also without, these other competitive devices? Somebody remote controls them, and Ava doesn't have to do that. So how does that work?
Yeah, no, I mean, those are, like I said, those are the two, there's two big differentiators for us. And that is that fully autonomous, truly smart robot. And the other side is, that enterprise video, the way people think about it today. But on the robotics side, without giving you too much of the secret sauce, it's a combination of a whole bunch of sensors and an algorithm that has those sensors speak into each other, so that it really truly does understand the space. And it's laser lidar, and it's optical sensors, and it's cliff sensors, and it's everything working in concert, so that Ava can be asked to go to a certain part of the facility, and will do so on its own, and it'll avoid people or things in real time. If a table shifted overnight, it's not gonna throw it off, or it can be manually operated, with guardrails, I like to call it, right? And so that's what gives you that independence, because you're not going to get into trouble if you're manually moving across a space and meeting with somebody. And then when you're done with Ava, you end your session, and it goes back to the charging station, and you're on to your next meeting or whatever's next for your day. So it truly is kind of the core competency of what we do, and why customers choose us, we think.
Cool. Yeah. So, okay. So, we know that, there's a lot of conference rooms now that have professional video in the conference rooms. But we also know there's the majority of workplaces, spaces in the workplaces that don't have professional video. And that's where Ava kind of fills the gap. Ava can fit into those environments where we don't have professional video installed, and provide, for us, Webex meetings. So how easy is it for customers to use Ava for that type of use, to have Webex meetings? How easy is it to start the meeting and to have Ava, participate?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I'm going to sound like a broken record going back to the same key things, but it's about integrating with how people do things today, and we're really not reinventing the wheel. So if you launch a Webex meeting and you want to bring up Ava controls and go be in a space with mobility, you can do that. And the fact that, like we talked about, it's a truly smart autonomous robot on the other end gives you a ton of margin for error, right? So you can launch Webex as you know it today, and have that buffer on the other end, so that it really is really simple and intuitive. And those are the big things that we're trying to build on, as we kind of complement the things that you're doing already at Cisco and with Webex, and bringing another dimension of collaboration to a workforce.
Okay. So it is a great collaboration tool. So let's talk a little bit about how that tool is being used. What are some of the common use cases that you see for Ava, and have any new ones become more prominent this past year as we embrace a more hybrid work model?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. It's probably the single, the most common question I get, and I start with the use case of just a broad collaboration tool, and everybody's talking a lot about what hybrid work and what the hybrid workforce looks like, and I think that it's a combination of tools and technology that are able to bridge the gap as best we can. And so we have a number of customers that have this deployed as a broad collaboration tool, as a way to bridge that gap so that people can attend meetings and have a actual seat at the table, the ability to stand and sit and look in both directions. And I like to say we used to say that the meeting happened 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after the actual meeting, but if you're not able to actually physically be there, you miss out on a lot of that. And so we have customers that use this as a way to, I show up. Yes, I'm a remote person, but I'm going to show up. I'm going to be addressed as a person in the room, and really kind of round out what's already deployed or being deployed from a collaboration standpoint. And we truly believe that's one of the big ways that we can combat feelings of isolation and disengagement of remote workforces. And then we can get more specific, of course, into use cases where we've done a good amount in healthcare, and retail, and all sorts of great use cases, manufacturing and development sites where you want an expert on demand. You need a proxy you want a physical presence in a place without being there, and everything in between.
Yeah, the remote expert in those places, again, that don't have video installed, that Ava can go to a line or to an area in the building where, again, where we don't have video, and conduct an on the spot, ad hoc meeting to take care of an issue or a problem. We know about experience centers. It's a very popular use. The first one that I, years ago when I was involved with Ava, was just using it in experience centers. And that's nice.
Yeah, we love that one because it's a direct benefit to a business. So sometimes when you talk about video, there's a subjectivity to it. There's not a direct ROI, but we have customers that have deployed in experience centers, customer briefing centers, innovation centers all over the world as a way to continue this cadence with their customers, right? It is a direct marketing and sales tool because they need to keep selling and we need to keep driving revenue and all the things that everybody's worried about from a business standpoint. And this is a tool that, we've seen companies embrace and see a significant return on their investment for it.
Good. So, and then you mentioned a little bit about healthcare. Unfortunately, we're kind of still in this environment where we'll be dealing with COVID conditions. And so I guess the question is, have you seen a renewed interest with Ava in healthcare environments where people can take advantage of, safe patient consultation and family visits, and maybe even other important meetings, safer and more efficiently, in a lot of cases where the in-person meetings weren't allowed and maybe still not allowed, at all hours. So can you talk about how Ava and Webex meetings, I guess, maybe had a renewed interest in those environments this past year?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So obviously, it's been a challenging year for healthcare and everybody associated with healthcare, and we do think that this has certainly highlighted the need to have technology in those places and fail safes in those places when like we saw, things can turn on a dime. And so we've done a good amount in, I look at healthcare for us in a couple of different buckets. We did a lot in long-term care, skilled nursing, assisted living was on that far end of the spectrum where this entire population got completely isolated overnight. And so one of the more gratifying things that we were able to do was to bring families in to visit people that were in these facilities to make sure that those people still had a cadence of care, right? Just because of the pandemic does not mean that our elderly population doesn't still need physical therapy and speech pathology and specialists and all the other things that are still going on from a health concern standpoint. And so to be able to keep that level of care going and get access to those people with Ava was one of the great things that we were able to work on, and continue to. And then on the hospital side, we absolutely are seeing an acceleration of people looking at virtual rounding and access to patients for nurses and specialists, and family, in a way that's more immersive for both the remote person and for the person that might be in that patient room, right? The robot does give a presence to a person that wouldn't otherwise. They can gesture, they can stand and sit and be in the room. That's just a little bit different than a static screen, and complements those other things that are already deployed.
And can move. I mean, it's we kind of take video for granted because you and I are in the business, but there's still so many environments. Healthcare facilities typically don't have a lot of video. So, Ava can bring that video presence. And it's like you're saying, it makes a world of difference when a patient has a video, with a family member. And even, there's times where the patient needs to have video meetings with other representation. And it's all, a very secure way of delivering those solutions as well. So it was
Yeah,
neat.
absolutely. And that's and especially with healthcare for us, the partnership with Cisco and Webex is huge. It's an extension, we're extending Webex with that mobility. We're not reinventing the wheel. Like I said, we consider ourselves experts in robotics, and we love that Cisco is an expert in everything else on the telepresence side. And so from a security standpoint, and from, just again, not reinventing that wheel, and deploying the way people are used to seeing things was important for us and continues to be.
Right. So you've had some other successes this year. Is there a story that you'd like to tell? Something that's happened this year with Webex and Ava, a success story?
Sure. I mean, we've had a few. There's a couple that come to mind. Well, we were talking on the healthcare side. We have a joint customer in NIH, which has been great. Obviously, NIH at the forefront of all this on the pandemic side, and helping them in a clinical setting to continue to be doing tests and bringing experts into facilities as best they can. So really nice healthcare use case we've been excited about. And then just again, on a broad collaboration side, we have a joint customer in T-Mobile. We work with the collaboration and productivity team there. And they're a huge Cisco and Webex customer and subscriber, and they looked at Ava as a way to continue to extend the things that they're doing for their remote people, and they look at it as a cultural way to continue to bridge the gap between remote and leadership that might have multiple teams across multiple buildings, and all the other dynamics that are just likely forever a little bit different. And so we're excited about being a potential part of the solution there.
Right. So I know with all of our customers, whether they're large enterprise customers or the smaller healthcare facilities, everybody's concerned about security, with our communication devices. And we all use devices, that are always on, like our phones, and some people even have devices now in their homes. And so I do get the question every once in a while, because people aren't familiar with Ava, they haven't used it, is how it operates. Is it always on? Is it always sort of in this telepresence video mode, observing the room? And then also, security is important with all of these meetings. Can you talk about security with Ava and with Webex meetings?
Yeah, sure. No, it's a great question. I get it a lot as well. Certainly, when you introduce a telepresence robot to an environment, those are the questions I would ask. So I love that people are asking them and thinking about how this works in the space. Going back to my initial comments, the telepresence robot is built on my proxy in a space. So the only time that Ava is on is when I've decided that I'm going to be there for a meeting or for a tour or whatever the application might be. Otherwise, never recording anything natively. And then, you know, again, on the security side, we look at this as a Cisco endpoint, and you register video from a security standpoint as it's registered today. So with Webex on Control Hub, where the customer's video and you know lives today, and trying to make that as seamless an introduction to the suite of things that people are already using as possible. So
Yeah. So as a video device,
hopefully it's a
you're just taking advantage of, you know, Webex end-to-end security, and you're not doing anything different. You know, outside of that, you're just a video device at that point participating in a Webex meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, users, you know, from a deployment standpoint, you have users that are credentialed as a user or an admin, depending on what kind of access they need. And I tell people, think about it, if you're badged to walk in the door at 123 Main Street and have access to the second floor, Ava works the same way. And if there's an Ava at 123 Main Street on the second floor, you have a user login and password to be able to go and be in that space. And if you're not supposed to be at another building, then you don't have access to that building. So from a security standpoint, there's those types of you know, access controls in place as well.
Gotcha. Okay. So we've talked a lot about kind of where we've been with Ava and why people like to use Ava. What do you see coming in the coming months with your partnership with Cisco with regard to Ava?
Yeah, great question. So we're just at the beginning of this type of technology getting adopted into these spaces, and we think we're at the start of something special with Cisco for sure. So I see it as further integration and fit into the Cisco and Webex architecture. So continuing to work with your teams and developing the story for how this fits into the other suite of products. As part of that, we're really excited about some of the work we've been doing on the embedded app side with the Webex product management team. So further joining those interfaces so that it is just Webex. It's not Webex and Ava controls. They're embedded directly into video as you know it, which is exciting. But then also keeping in mind, like I said, we're a robotics company, so we see a lot of exciting things to explore with DNA spaces and other potential robotic direction that we could co-vision moving forward.
Right, and it is great that you guys are, you know, developing along that path with Cisco to embed an app into Webex. Our customers love that idea of being in the Webex app and being able to do, you know, the majority of their work, and then, you know, to have Ava in a meeting. It's great now, you know, once this work is done, to be able to stay in the meeting and involve Ava, you know, in a remote location in your meeting without having to leave and go to a different control mechanism. So that's fantastic. And thanks for, you know, for kind of going down that path with us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We want to make this simple. We want this to fit into how enterprises or healthcare systems or whoever the customer use case might be are deploying today. And nobody likes more usernames and passwords, and nobody likes more things to interface. So the more that we can you know, we can unify those things, I think the better off we'll all be.
Great. So I guess final question, Ava. We know Ava is sold in the United States and Canada, and just recently you announced that you're now selling in parts of Europe as well. So how can partners get in touch with you guys and regarding Ava? How can they sell it? And then do they need any special certifications to sell it?
Yeah, no, we're excited about the current global footprint that we have and the expanding, you know, ability to sell with Cisco into all parts of the world. So we're excited about partnering with Cisco sellers and Cisco teams. best thing to do is to get in touch with me. The nice part about being a startup is you have very simple email addresses. So I'm just rob@avarobotics.com, or
Okay.
find us through the website. I'm on Webex as well. So that's the best way to find me. We can help support the efforts. As for special certification, obviously we go through a getting to know you process and make sure we're all aligned in how we're selling and where, and make sure that we can support those efforts. And if there's a joint fit, then we're excited to partner.
Great. Yeah. And then I guess now also, if you're a Cisco partner, you're probably aware of the Ask Spaces, and there's an Ask Ava
Yep.
space as well. And so if you just have questions, if you haven't used Ava and you're just not totally familiar with it, and maybe your customer has an idea or a concern or question, we can, throw it in that Ask space, and we're all very active in it. Rob, I know, and his team will get on those questions right away. And that's another way, to kind of interface up front.
Yeah, and I would absolutely encourage joining that space. And there's a lot of good. We try and post once a week, or at least once every 2 weeks in there, with some new content. So go check out some of the old content in there, and ask us questions. We want to help and support those efforts out in the field.
Perfect. Great. Rob, thanks for the time. Thanks for the discussion. Anything else you'd like to talk about today?
No, we covered a lot of ground. Just always a pleasure to chat with you, and appreciate all the support we get from you and your team, and look forward to continuing those efforts moving forward.
Awesome. Yeah, we are too. Thanks so much for the partnership and for the ongoing development, and really for, filling those gaps that our customers need, when it comes to collaboration, and you give them a lot of flexibility that they didn't have before. So thanks for providing those solutions.
Thanks for listening to Webex Partner Podcast. For easy listening, stay tuned for more episodes with Solutions Plus and our partners. Once again, this is your host, Taryn. We hope you enjoyed today's edition. Join us next time for more.